Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello learners, I welcome you back to our course of microeconomics and its applications. Presently, we are doing the last unit of this course, that is Unit 5, and today we will be doing the fourth lecture wherein we will be talking about monopolistic competition and how it is different from perfect competition or pure competition. I am Dr. Aparna Samudra, who is the course coordinator as well as the presenter of this lecture. So learners, let us embark on this journey of understanding what is monopolistic competition. What will be the learning objectives today for this lecture? We will be understanding the characteristics of monopolistic competition. Thereafter, we will understand that how in a monopolistic competition, the firm derives its short-run and long-run profit maximization output and price. Then we will compare perfect competition and monopolistic competition. So let us understand first of all that what are the various characteristics of a monopolistic competition. So we'll start with the definition, learners. We say monopolistic competition is a market structure in which there are large number of small sellers selling differentiated products, but these products are close substitute products, and in this particular industry there is an easy entry and exit of the new firms. So what is this market structure? We say monopolistic competition is that market structure in which there are large number of sellers, but each of this seller is very small in size. And what are they selling? These sellers are selling the products which are differentiated. But all these products, even though they are differentiated, they are close substitutes to each other. Then we say in this market structure, there is an ease of entry and exit. So looking at this definition, learners, I am sure you must be able to now comprehend that monopolistic competition is somewhat of a mix of perfect competition and monopoly. If you remember, in perfect competition, we had said that there are large number of sellers. But what were they selling? In perfect competition, each of these large sellers were selling products which were homogeneous. That is, their products were identical. But in monopolistic competition, we are saying that these sellers who are small in size, but there are number of sellers. What are they selling? They are selling differentiated products. Okay, and these are close substitutes to each other. Okay, that is, there is, it's easy to substitute, unlike in your monopoly where we had said that there are no close substitutes. Here we are saying that there are close substitutes. Also, as in perfect competition, in monopolistic competition also, there is ease of entry and exit of the firms in the market. Remember, in perfect competition, this feature was present. But this feature of ease of entry and exit was missing in monopoly. Therefore, monopolistic competition is a mix of perfect competition and monopoly. Now let us have a look at the characteristics of monopolistic competition, which we are going to derive from this particular definition which we have just done. So what are the characteristics? The first characteristic, as we just told you, that there are large number of sellers and buyers. Large number of sellers, and therefore no individual firm can influence the market price. However, each firm follows an independent price output policy. Even though the number of sellers is large, they cannot influence market size, but they still have an independent price and output policy. They are not price takers as in case of perfect competition. Why is it so? This happens because all these sellers are selling differentiated products. Unlike perfect competition, where every seller was selling a homogeneous product or an identical product. Therefore, the products were perfect substitutes to each other. Hence, every firm was a price taker. Whatever price was decided by demand and supply, at that price, every firm in perfect competition was selling. But in monopolistic competition, even though there are a large number of sellers, but what type of a product are they selling? They are selling differentiated products which are close substitutes but not perfect substitutes. Therefore, each of the seller can exercise some kind of a control by way of brand loyalty by the customer. Because this product differentiation has been brought through packaging, design, labeling, advertising, and branding. For example, you want to go and buy a bath soap for yourself. You go to a superstore, there are number of bath soaps available there, number of brands are available there, but you always like to buy a particular kind of a bath soap. Therefore, you pick up that particular bath soap, even though the other which are displayed there are also giving you the same function. This means that that particular seller has some kind of people who like to buy its product even though number of close substitutes are available. Hence, each seller in this market structure is controlling or is setting its own price and quantity. So they are not like perfect competition where price is set by the market. Then as we said, there is freedom of entry and exit into the market. Just like perfect competition, in long run, we may see firms entering or firms exiting from this market. But it is not as easy as perfect competition because there is existence of product differentiation. That is, anybody who wishes to enter this market has to work on the product to make it different from the product of the other seller. Otherwise, he will be lost in this crowd. Therefore, he has to spend money on this particular product differentiation, which entails a selling cost. Therefore, freedom of entry and exit in the market is of course there, but it is not as easy as compared to perfect competition. Then, as I just told you, there is a role of non-price competition. Because there are so many sellers who are selling close substitutes. What do they have to do now to attract buyers to their product is they have to spend money on this brand building, on designing, on advertising so that people get attracted to buy this product or that particular brand. Therefore, the role of non-price competition is significant because they cannot play on the price. If one decreases the price, it will not have a substantial impact on the market. So the only way to attract customers in monopolistic competition is having non-price competition. Then because they have to go for non-price competition, also they have to differentiate the product. Therefore, in monopolistic competition, there is what we call as a selling cost. That is, the additional cost the firms have to incur in form of advertisement expenditure, which was absent in case of perfect competition because everybody was selling an identical product. But now, because I have to show to the customer that my product is different from your product, and I have differentiated my product by way of labeling, by way of branding, by way of advertising, I have to spend money on this promotion. So that promotion is called as the selling cost. Right. Now, this concept of monopolistic competition, this particular market structure, was brought forward by Edward Chamberlain. So that is how we got the concept of monopolistic competition, which is, learners, a very, very real practical market structure. There are so many examples you can think of monopolistic competition. Right? So these are the features. Now the question comes is that since the products are differentiated, okay, there are large number of sellers, what will be the shape of the demand curve? So the demand curve in case of monopolistic competition is downward sloping. That is, we've just discussed that in monopolistic competition, the firms are not price takers. Okay, they are selling products which are differentiated. Therefore, even though they aggressively do non-price competition, but still price has a role to play in case for changing the demand of the product. Therefore, the demand curve given by the average revenue curve, as you can see on the screen, which is this downward sloping blue line, is your downward sloping demand curve. Because the demand curve is downward sloping, the marginal revenue curve is also downward sloping, and it is different from your average revenue curve. So what do we see? We see that the demand curve in monopolistic competition, like monopoly, is downward sloping. Also, the demand curve and marginal revenue curve are different from each other. However, there is a point of difference between monopoly and monopolistic competition's demand curve. What is the difference? The difference is in the elasticity of demand. A demand curve for a monopolistic competition is more elastic. Remember, learners, when we did the lecture of monopoly, I had mentioned that in monopoly, the demand curve is inelastic. But in monopolistic competition, the demand curve is more elastic. There is greater elasticity. Why? Do you remember when we discussed the factors determining price elasticity of demand? We had said more the substitutes, more the elasticity. Less the substitutes, less the elasticity. When we are discussing monopolistic competition, we have just said large number of sellers selling close substitutes. This means many firms and many substitutes of the product make the demand curve in this market structure more elastic than the demand curve in a monopoly. In both the market structures, monopoly and monopolistic competition, the demand curves are downward sloping. AR and MR are different, but the demand curve for monopolistic competition is more elastic than the demand curve of monopoly. I hope you understand how the two market structures demand curve is different from each other. Now coming to the determination of the profit maximizing output in short run. So how does a firm in monopolistic competition set its profit maximizing output and price? So, of course, as we know that the condition for profit maximization remains the same. That is the point of marginal revenue becoming equal to marginal cost. So first we will see that where the MR curve is equal to the marginal cost curve. From there we will derive the quantity. Once we get this quantity, this quantity at what price the buyers are willing to buy will be determined by the demand curve. If the price is greater than average cost, you will see economic profits. If price is less than average cost, you will see losses. If price is equal to average cost, you will see what we call as break-even or normal profits. So this is something which is very similar to monopoly. Okay, now let us see the determination one by one. When a firm, first case we are taking is when this firm in monopolistic competition is earning economic profits, supernormal profits. So you see this demand curve downward sloping. Your marginal revenue curve shown by the purple line is also downward sloping. Marginal cost curve, which is U-shaped, is cutting your or intersecting your MR curve at point A. So the profit maximizing level occurs where marginal revenue curve and marginal cost curve intersect at point A. So you get Q star level of output at which the profit will be maximized. Now, at what price this is going to be sold? We will extend the same line to the demand curve, this yellow curve, and then get the price level. So this means the profit maximizing price and output in this case is P star and Q star respectively. So you are getting your P and Q at which the firm is going to maximize the profit. Now, because we know the profit is the difference between revenue and cost, we should also know that in order to produce this Q star level of output, how much cost the firm has to incur. For that, we will bring in our average total cost curve, which is a U-shaped curve. Correct? We will see that at what for this production of Q star, how much is the average cost that the firm has to incur. So this OQ star line, wherever it is cutting or intersecting your average cost curve, that is the point of the cost. So you see this at this point AC, this particular line I'm again showing you, this Q star is cutting AC at the point where I am showing my laser pointer. So this means that this will be the cost of the firm. Okay, so the firm is earning excess profits because its revenue was greater, shown by your OQ star into AP star, this bigger square or a rectangle. Cost was less, AQ star was, this particular was the cost, AC, right? So my revenue is more, my cost is less. So the shaded portion is the economic profit or supernormal profit. So why the firm is earning these supernormal profits? Because its total revenue is greater than the total cost. This derivation is very similar to what we did in the previous lecture where we derived the short-run equilibrium of a monopoly firm. Okay, but there the demand curve slope was less, it was inelastic. Then, in case the firm is making normal profits, again we will see that where your marginal cost is intersecting your MR. So MR is equal to MC at this point A. You will derive your profit maximizing level of output, which is P star and Q star. Cost, this is your revenue. What is the cost? We get the cost curve. So the cost and the revenue are the same. Therefore, it is a normal profit or break even, where the total revenue is equal to the total cost. Again, how did we get it? Because your curve of average cost shifted upward. Therefore, the economic profits or supernormal profits were wiped out because the average cost in this situation is greater. Third situation is in short run, a firm suffering economic losses. Again, your marginal cost and marginal revenue are intersecting at point A. Correct? What will we do now, learners? We will see what is the profit maximizing level of output, Q star. What is the price at this level, P star. What should be our next step? To draw average cost curve. We get this average cost curve and see that to produce Q star, what is the cost? Cost is greater. This means that this green shaded area is showing that the firm is making losses because its revenue is less and its cost is more. So TR is less than TC. So the firm is incurring losses. So a monopolistic competitive firm in short run may have economic profits, may have normal profits, or may have losses. But when we go to long run, what happens? We know in long run, there is freedom of entry and exit of the firms in this market. Now, if there are supernormal profits or if there are economic profits which are occurring in short run, do you see this? In this situation, this blue shaded area of rectangle in this graph is showing economic profits, excess profits. This excess profits will attract new entrants. New firms would like to come in, right? So when new firms come in, what will mean is that there will be fewer customers available for the original firm. Right or not? Because more people have come in. Many new firms have started doing the same thing. So, for the existing firms, their market share will reduce. So, when their market share reduces, means the demand for their product will decline. Your demand curve will shift inwards or shift to the left. If the demand curve is shifting to the left, the marginal revenue curve will also shift to the left. So, when this happens, when there is an economic profit, I am again repeating, in short run, when there are economic profits, this would attract new firms in long run to enter this industry. So when new entrants come in this industry in long run, this would mean for the original firms, lesser customers will be there, or the market share or the demand of the product of the original firms will fall, or there will be a decrease. This decrease would mean that the demand curve D as well as the MR curve MR will shift to the left. It will shift inward. When it shifts inward, what will happen is that because now I am selling less, I am an original firm, I was initially there, now my market share has reduced. This means I will be able to sell less, hence I will be able to earn lesser revenue. This fall in revenue without a change in cost would mean these excess profits which were present will be wiped out. Okay, until what point this entry of new firms will keep on happening? Till all the firms in long run earn only normal profits. Okay, now let us see what I have told you. In this graph that you can see, the firm is making excess profit or economic profits. Because of this, in long run, new firms are entering. When new firms are entering, the demand curve will shift leftward. You see this shift leftward? Because of this shift leftward, you will get a new point of production at which there are only normal profits. Initially, the firm was having excess profits. With the entry of new firms in long run, the demand curve changes. The firm earns only normal profits. So in long run, when all the firms start making normal profits, the new entry will stop. So this is the impact of having economic profits in short run, and in long run, because of this, new entry takes place, and this will stop when all the firm makes only normal profits. Then if there are losses, let us say this example, this pink shaded area is showing the loss. In short run, if many firms are making losses, they may exit, because for them at this situation, at this price level, they may be unable to cover their variable cost of production. So they may exit. So when many firms exit, means for the remaining firm, the demand will increase. Okay, so when the demand increases, the demand curve will shift to the right. With this increase in demand, their revenue will increase, hence their losses will be wiped out. So if you see this particular diagram on your screens, right now the firms are making losses. Exit of the firm takes place, the demand curve will shift rightward. The firms now will make only normal profits. So till what point this exit will happen? Till all the firms break even, till all the firms make only normal profits. Then something which is very similar to your perfect competition long run. So what are we saying? In long run, in monopolistic competition, the equilibrium is at a point when there is zero profit or normal profits, what we call as. So this is the situation where the firms are making in long run only normal profits. Okay, so when this is happening, we say that the monopolistic competitive industry is in equilibrium, because firms are making only that much profit which is required to keep all the factors of production into the same business. So new firms will not enter because there is no supernormal profit. Existing firm will not exit because nobody is making losses. So that is a situation of a long run equilibrium. Remember, in perfect competition also we said that a long run equilibrium is at a point when every firm is making normal profits. In monopolistic competition also we are saying something similar, that the industry will be in equilibrium in long run when all the firms make only normal profit. But still there is a difference between perfect competition long run and monopolistic competition long run, which we will be discussing now. But before that, let us just again once see that what is the situation in long run. We say if the firms are earning economic profits in short run, new firms will want to enter the industry. This will reduce the demand curve facing each individual producer. Hence, in long run, each supplier will earn normal profits and price will be equal to the average total cost. Okay, so this is a situation of short run supernormal profits leading the firms to enter and wiping out those excess profits. Similarly, if there are losses, firms will exit and demand curve of each individual will increase. It will shift to the right and every firm will make normal profits. Then exit will stop. Okay, now I just told you that let us compare the equilibrium in perfect competition and monopolistic competition. So we have just seen that in long run, monopolistically competitive firms make only normal profits. When we talked about the long run equilibrium of perfect competition, there also we have said something similar. Then what is the difference between these two? Let us understand. First, we'll understand or just recall our long run equilibrium in perfect competition. This blue line is the demand curve. We know that in perfect competition, every firm faces a similar curve which is horizontal. And marginal revenue curve is the same as your demand curve in perfect competition. So we start from this. Then we see this purple curve which is U-shaped average total cost curve. Marginal cost curve is cutting your average total cost curve at its minimum point. Okay, so the cost of production, your MC is equal to MR at QPC. Correct? Price is PPC. Same as your marginal cost and same as average total cost. So every firm is making only normal profits. Every firm is making only normal profits because average your total revenue and total cost are the same. Correct? Also, the firms are operating in this case at the minimum point of your average total cost curve. When we talked about long run average cost curves, we had said that the minimum efficient scale is at that point when the firm is producing at the least point or the minimum point of the average cost. Because if you start producing more than QPC, your average cost will start rising. Correct? So this is the minimum efficient scale. Let us compare it with long run equilibrium in monopolistic competition. Here, the demand curve is downward sloping. Marginal revenue curve is also downward sloping. We get your average cost curve, your marginal cost curve. MC is equal to MR. Correct? You get your quantity. From your quantity, we derive the price PMC. Correct? Do you see some difference? Here also the firms are making normal profits. Yes, firms are making normal profits because their revenue is equal to cost. So in monopolistic competition, there are normal profits in long run. In perfect competition also, there are normal profits in long run. But what is the difference? Do you see some difference of the cost and the price? Compare both the situations. What is happening? The price in your perfect competition is lower than the price in monopolistic competition. Is not PMC more than PPC? Yes, it is. Why? Because in monopolistic competition, we are deriving price from the demand curve. And demand curve is different from marginal revenue curve. Marginal revenue is lower, demand curve is higher. So, the price is monopolistic competition is greater than the price in your perfect competition. So 1. Price in monopolistic competition is greater than the price in perfect competition. Second, compare the quantity which we are producing in perfect competition QPC with the quantity which we are producing in monopolistic competition. The quantity produced in perfect competition is greater than the quantity produced in monopolistic competition. Meaning to say that we are producing more in perfect competition compared to what we are producing in monopolistic competition. Correct? So price is more, quantity produced is less in monopolistic competition compared to perfect competition. The most important thing, this QPC is the minimum cost output because this is the minimum cost point of the perfect competition. Please pay attention to the perfect competition graph. Average cost is least at QPC. That is the minimum cost of production. And that is what the firms are producing in perfect competition. Now let us go to monopolistic competition. What is the minimum cost? This point, D, this point is the minimum cost. Correct? But what is the actual production? QMC, which is on this point, which is on the falling portion of your average cost curve. Correct? So what is happening? What is happening? What is happening is that the firm is producing that profit maximizing level of output QMC on the falling portion of your average cost curve. If the firm would have produced more, it would have gone to the minimum point of average cost curve. But it is stopping on the falling portion of the average cost curve. This means that in monopolistic competition, the profit maximizing level of output, which is QMC, is less than what would have been produced if the firm would have produced at the least point of average cost. So the firms in monopolistic competition are leaving some excess capacity in the plant. What are the firms doing? The firms in long run monopolistic competition, even though they are earning normal profits, but still they are leaving some excess capacity in the plant, meaning to say, if they would have produced more, the average cost of production would have been lesser. But because at those levels of output, the firms would not have maximized their profit, they are stopping at a lower level of output. Hence, what we see is that there is some wastage which is occurring in monopolistic competition, which was completely absent in perfect competition. Let us see again this comparison. We have said that in both the situations, in monopolistic and in perfect, there is zero economic profit in long run. That is, all the firms are making normal profits, which means that marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. Okay, and also your D, that is demand curve, becomes tangent to your average cost curve. So this is happening in both the markets. But in perfect competition, the demand curve is a horizontal line. Okay, the producer is producing at the minimum average cost, minimum efficient scale of production. Therefore, there is productive efficiency as well as there is allocative efficiency. Why? Because the firms are producing at the least cost and they are producing the highest level of output at that least cost. Prices are also lower. Therefore, there is allocative efficiency as well as there is productive efficiency. When we see monopolistic competition, we saw that the demand curve is downward sloping. The firms did not produce at the minimum average cost, leaving an excess capacity. If this would not have been the situation, they could have increased output, leading to lower average cost as well as increasing social welfare because they would have produced more. Okay, so what is happening in monopolistic competition is, in order to have a long run equilibrium, even though there are normal profits, the producers are producing less. Also, they are charging more. So you get the difference between monopolistic competition and perfect competition. So perfect, as the name is saying, it is perfect. It is ideal. Prices are less. The production is more. The firms are producing at the minimum efficient scale, that is where their average cost is least. But this is not happening in monopolistic competition, where the firms are leaving an excess capacity. They are charging a higher price. So production is less and charges are more. So that is the difference between perfect competition and monopolistic competition. So after all this big dose of monopolistic competition, just let us do a self-assessment. You give me the answer for this, learners. Which of the following is not a feature of monopolistic competition? There are numerous sellers, product differentiation, numerous buyers, or homogeneous product. Which is not a feature? Which one of these is not a feature of monopolistic competition? Answer should be D, because there are not homogeneous products, they are selling differentiated products. Now answer this, tell me whether it is true or false. In a situation of monopolistic competition, there are no close substitutes. Are there no close substitutes in monopolistic competition? False. There are close substitutes. Then monopolistically competitive firms have higher unit cost than perfect competition. Do they have higher average cost compared to perfectly competitive market? We just saw that. True. We just saw that how in monopolistic competition the firms are producing at a higher average cost of production compared to perfect competition. So let us summarize today's lecture. We have understood the characteristic of monopolistic competition, which we said are a combination of perfect competition and monopoly. We said that in short run, in order to maximize the profit, the firms may have supernormal profits or economic profits, normal profits or losses. In long run, however, each firm gets only normal profits. That is, every firm is getting only normal profits. But they are leaving certain excess capacity in the plant even though they are earning normal profits. So, the condition of profit maximization in long run, in perfect competition and monopoly, even though in monopolistic competition, even though everybody is earning normal profits, but they are operating at a lesser efficient scale and charging more. So that is how your monopolistic competition, this essentially happens, we say, because of the selling costs which are involved, because of the product differentiation which the firms have to make. In monopolistic competition, the cost is more compared to perfect competition. So learners, this is all that we have to do in this particular course of microeconomics and its applications. We have done 5 units, starting from what is demand, then we did consumer behavior, then we talked about production analysis in the unit. 4th unit we talked about cost analysis, and in the 5th unit we have talked about market structures. For me as an instructor, as a course coordinator, it has been a very enjoyable journey doing all these lectures for you, and I hope you must have enjoyed this lecture, all these lectures, and you will stand to gain in your career by seeing these lectures and doing the exercises, whatever we have done throughout. So all the best for your future learners. Have a very happy life and a very fruitful life. Thank you very much.